Paint your bolt action armies faster.
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Baer from SpikyBits.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to paint your bolt action armies faster using the new Warlord Rapid Deployment paint system. They sent these over to us, all the sets actually, including the base set. And we're just going to paint up one miniature to show you how easy it is because, well, I only have the Germans. You can pick up all of these paint sets over at Warlord Games. You click on Warlord, it's actually going to ask you your currency. I've already set it to US dollars, so that makes it a little easier on us. For paint sets, just scroll down to, keep scrolling, scroll down to paints and tools, and that's going to dump you into all the different options. You can actually buy all of these paints separately, as you see here, to color match all of the recipes. But we're going to look at the paint sets today, although you can go over and look at the paint guides as well. But for the paint sets, this is what we're looking at. The main core paint set will get you all of the major colors that you're going to need for any of these bolt action sets right here. And of course, we're going to look at the German set today. And it's going to come with 6 paints and a quick shade washing dip to bring it all together on the fly and get your models ready in a jiffy for the tabletop. So here's all of the sets right here. There's 4 individual faction sets. These are $35 US and one of the core paint sets for $45. You don't need to buy all of them because if you don't play the Soviets, don't buy the Soviets. You're gonna get everything you need, say if you play the Germans, in here and also contained in the core paint set itself. So here's what comes in the core paint set. Now this is a great start. This gives you all the basic colors to block in most historical ranges that are out there. And here you can kind of see they give you an overview of everything that comes in here, which of course is here. And I like this little pot, this little mini pot of strong tone. Now this is actually easy to get open. Just get a flathead screwdriver of pretty much any size and you can just pry it open to get in there. Be careful, you know, it's got a flat bottom, so you're not gonna knock it over like it's washed or anything like that, but just keep that in mind. Now when it comes to the paints themselves, the system is pretty easy and you can check out the paint guides on there. You just block in the colors, then you hit it with the strong tone, then you base it however you want, maybe with a little bit of flock or some tufts or something from the Army Painter Extra. It's very, very easy, and it will literally take the paint longer to dry than to finish this whole system. And today, like I said, we're gonna paint up a German trooper using the German paint set, which comes with 6 pots and of course the strong tone as well, which also comes in a starter set. Now looking at the instructions here, you'll notice that depending on which one you buy, you're also gonna need paints from the starter set. So keep that in mind, that you're gonna have to kind of get both. But if you have the base set, you can use it to paint a lot of the other types of historicals out there. Remember, Warlord has a whole range of stuff ranging from historical to near future to modern to all sorts of different stuff out there. So chances are you'll probably use it regardless. But here's what we're gonna focus on today, and actually have this guy right here that looks just like the one on the box. So we're gonna start blocking him in right now. So the first step to painting this miniature is to get a little color on him after the primer dries all up. So we just use the normal Army Painter matte black primer and put a little texture down, a little texture gravel, and the primer actually helps it stick to the base. So first up, we're gonna grab our German Army field gray for most of the uniform here, and actually the hat, just because why not? I mean, you could paint the hat black, it's supposed to be black, but whatever. We're just gonna do it a little different because I think it looks good. So we're gonna grab some of this and shake it up really good. I've already been shaking it up off camera, and squirt a little out on our palette here. And there you can see it's got a really good consistency. So after that is done, we'll just dab a little bit on our brush and get it off, and make sure we got not a whole lot of buildup here on the brush, and slowly just kind of work it in. Now you can add a little bit of mixing medium or something like that if you don't like this consistency, but right now it's just all about blocking it in nice and smooth all over the miniature. And it may take 2 coats because this is black, but hopefully it coats pretty well. We're about to find out. So now we're starting to look like a traditional little green army man right there. It took 2 coats, but a little bit of time and dry time, it was good to go. If you're working on a batch of these figures, it's gonna be just fine. Like, you'll have enough time in between to come back and hit it all. Now, I'm gonna paint the top a different color. There's actually a German helmet color here, which is a darker green. And what I'm gonna do, the reason I just went ahead and put the green on here is because I knew going over black, it would take 2 coats. So since I had the paint out, I was just like, why not? So there you can see the helmet is gonna be a different shade of this green. So I'm just gonna go through and block all that in, and the chin strap right there, which I'll probably have to touch up once we do the flesh itself. Now, one thing to consider, if you had an airbrush, you could load these paints up with a little bit of flow improver or the wash medium and push that through your airbrush, and you could have the base coat done in no time, and you would just be blocking out the details. But we didn't. We just did it all by hand just to show you guys how easy it would be. Just have a larger size brush on hand to do the bulk of the work on this first base coat. So the paint isn't even dry yet on our helmet right there, and now we're just going to jump in and do the flesh. So we're going to grab our Caucasian skin, and this might take a couple extra coats, which is okay and totally to be expected because it's a light color. But going over black here, it's gonna be kind of rough, so we're just gonna block it in and move on and come back and do another coat. The key here is keeping your coats nice and thin so that you're not getting glops or anything like that, and you're able to come back and finish it off with a second layer. So that turned out very good. You do have to go back and touch up some areas around the flesh, but we left the hands relatively untouched up because we're about to jump to the next step, which is the wood brown. And once that dries on the stock of the gun right here, we'll use gun metal up top where all the mechanical parts or all the metal parts are, just to finish that off. So there was no need to touch up around the hands quite yet, although I'm sure we'll have to reapply some flesh to the hands after this step. So we'll just start at the back with our wood brown and slowly and carefully work it around the existing color so we don't waste any time on touch-ups. Now that all the brown is blocked in, it's time for the metals, some of which we went over with the brown, but that's okay. It will just give us a little bit more definition. So we're gonna grab some of our gunmetal color here and just start to block in those details very carefully. And what that's gonna do is really start to make the rifle pop, but also give us that contrast between the metals, the browns, and the organics of the jacket and uniform. And the gun is all blocked in. Did most of the fixes on the flesh, but we still got some straps to do down there, boots, and the pouches on the back. So for that, we're gonna use this camo brown color right here. So we've already got some out on our palette, and let's see how that works. Let's gather up a little bit and start to cut in on the boots, and that looks great. And now the rifle is all blocked in, the boots are blocked in, and the pouches are blocked in. The only thing that is left is going to be all the belts, and we're going to use Warlord's pitch black for that. Very easy. Flip this back around and I'll show you how we're going to start this. So we're just going to get in here on these straps and try to very carefully go through all of them without making too much of a mess on that green, but we'll clean up what we can, or what we have to, hopefully not a lot, afterwards. So now we've got all of that blocked in as well. It took a few minutes and just a few touch-ups, but we were good to go. So now it's time to create that depth or that contrast on your model itself. And included in the set here was a little dip can of strong tone quick shade. Now this is oil based, so you're gonna have to let it dry overnight. So you only need a very, very thin layer of this. And they call it a dip. You've probably heard it referred to as a dip over the past 10 years or so, because they literally, you know, advise you to dip your miniatures into it and then shake them off. Obviously that's gonna get messy. It's gonna get all over you. Don't do that unless you're wearing clothes you can afford to ruin and are in a place that you can afford to get the stuff all over your hobby area or furniture or what have you. What I'm gonna do and what I recommend you doing is just get you a big flat chiseled brush just like this, and just dip the brush into the can itself, and then you're just gonna start at the top because that's how gravity works, and we're just gonna work the wash or the dip all the way down the model, looking out for glip glops and Klingons and things like that. But it's going to coat, it is thicker, like I said, it's an oil-based kind of type deal here. And it's going to take a minute or two to kind of work it through, but because it's oil-based, you're going to have a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of time to kind of mess around with it. And key areas you're going to want to watch out for are the face. So stuff like this, you want to get up in there and make sure that you get all the detail, but then dab it off so it looks realistic like that. And then, you know, the underarms and the waist and the things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this guy up and get him ready to set out to dry. And then we'll bring it back and talk about some other alternatives and some lessons learned. So less than a minute later, we finished this up and dabbed off all the excess and the glip glops and the things like that. Now it's going to dry a little bit tighter and more in the recesses, but for right now, we've got a really good kind of coat, kind of all over the place. Maybe you want to put a little bit more on the face right there. And if you do, you can always go in with a smaller brush just to kind of specialize on those areas. It looked like at first we had good coverage, but then maybe not. So boom, we'll just add a little bit more detail over there in the crowd. You'd be surprised what the camera picks up that your naked eye doesn't. See, that looks a lot better all of a sudden. Boom, there it is. Now, here's the one drawback to the system. You know, there really isn't any. I mean, you can get them all done, leave them out. A lot of people, you can't play with the miniatures the same day you paint them. But this is going to take about 24 hours to dry. And then you don't want to hit it with a matte coat. They actually give you anti-shine matte varnish in the kit, so you're going to want to spread that on there, or you can hit it with a matte varnish spray. Whatever you prefer, it's really up to you. If you want to get these up and going and battle with them quicker and not have to wait for that prolonged drying time, you could think about using the Army Painter Strong Tone Wash, which is acrylic based, and it'll dry a lot quicker, especially if you had it in front of a fan. So just some food for thought right there. This is fine, you know, this looks great. And as a matter of fact, we're not going to wait 24 hours for this to dry. We already finished one, and here he is. This is Carl, the stunt double. Hello. We've already added in some tufts, finished up the base, and just got them all dry and hit him with a little matte coat. And there you can see he isn't super shiny. It's a little bit more of a semi-gloss at the end. Only hit it with one shot of the matte coat, so you can bring it down even more if you desire. But at the end of the day, it goes pretty quick and you can get it done and knocked out a whole like regiment of these guys pretty fast. Now, some ways to speed it up, obviously, use the acrylic wash like we talked about. Use your airbrush to base coat this German color right here that we used for the majority of it. And from there, it's just picking out the details and hitting it with your wash. But other than that, great fast way to get your guys up and running. And for the tabletops, you can even use this system on larger vehicles. Although if you use the dip, I would imagine that you're probably going to want to hit it with a light dry brush afterwards. So you might not be super finished at that point, but just be aware of that right there. So that's pretty much it for this one. This is the Rapid Deployment Fast Paint System by Army Painter for Warlord and Bolt Action. Really great system, easy to get up and running, affordable, and it's ready to go right out of the box. You know, you already got your colors picked out, and it comes with everything you need except brushes and a safe area to dry off all of your miniatures. So thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.